A 100-foot crane eased into our entrance at sunrise. The HOA president, mid-50s, fair skin, blonde bob, pink suit, stabbed the air. "You can't do this." The city inspector didn't blink. "He can." For weeks they'd posted my address, stacked $100 a day fines, and threatened a lien over the flagpole my dad helped me set. We were supposed to fold. Instead, I found a sliver of land they don't control, a permit they can't touch, and a lawful way to make their own public photos the neighborhood's welcome banner. No insults, just accountability at 100 feet. They sprinted to court for an emergency order. What the judge said turned the whole board silent and turned their power into paper. Stay to the end to see the exact step that flipped fines into refunds, forced a written apology, and funded a veteran's scholarship. And add your city and state in the comments so your community is counted in this fight and future wins know exactly where to land. The morning started quiet, wind through the oak trees, flag snapping softly above my porch. Then the mail truck stopped. The driver didn't wave, he just handed me a certified envelope with a yellow tag that looked too official for comfort. Homeowners Association, the return address read. I didn't even make it inside before opening it. Immediate removal of unauthorized flagpole, daily fines begin upon receipt. The words didn't sting, they burned. 10 years that pole had stood there. My father and I said it in concrete the week my son was born. Now, a woman who'd never built anything tougher than a PowerPoint was calling it an eyesore. Her name was Marla Whitcomb, HOA president, mid-50s, polished voice. Blonde bob that never moved when she talked. Every letter she sent smelled like power spray tan pink. By evening, the HOA portal had a photo of my front yard, red circle around the flag, captioned, "Ongoing violation." Neighbors saw it, some looked away, others whispered. I felt that mix of humiliation and rage crawling under my skin. I emailed the board politely. This flagpole was approved verbally by the former president in 2013. Their reply came 2 hours later. Verbal approval is not valid. Remove it or face lien procedures. A lien on my home for a flagpole. That night I couldn't sleep. I watched the pole through the window, the way it stood steady in the dark like it knew it was being judged. My wife came in quietly. "Don't do anything tonight," she said. Sleep on it, but I wasn't angry anymore. I was calculating. I reread the HOA's architectural guidelines. Section 9.3, no structure exceeding 8 feet may be erected without prior written approval. My pole was 12. They had me on paper, but city code allowed 12 feet without restriction. The HOA rule wasn't higher law, it was a policy. That word changes everything. Next morning, I called city planning. The clerk sounded half asleep until I mentioned the HOA, then her voice sharpened. "They can't override city ordinance," she said. "If it meets code, it's legal." I sat there for a long minute, letting those words soak in. They can't override. By lunchtime, fines started hitting, $100 a day. The HOA system automatically generated invoices like a slot machine printing loss after loss. I printed them all. Lined them on the kitchen counter like trophies of arrogance. I went outside, stood under the flag, and whispered, "We don't fold." By evening, Marla sent another email, all caps subject line, final warning. She copied the entire board, the compliance officer, even the HOA attorney. The last line read, "You are being made an example." That's when something inside me locked into place. I wasn't just defending a pole. I was defending the right to not be bullied by paperwork. I took one long look at that letter, then folded it, slid it in my back pocket, and walked to my garage. I pulled out a binder labeled Property Records, every blueprint. Every inspection, every approval, I laid them across the workbench like chess pieces. They wanted war through email, I'd bring war through evidence. The next morning I didn't hide, I set up my lawn chair beside the flagpole. Every neighbor walking by could see me reading the HOA manual, highlighter in hand. The wind lifted the flag higher, sunlight catching it like armor. For the first time I smiled, because I knew something Marla didn't. In every war, the side that studies the rules wins, and I was done playing by theirs. I learned fast Marla didn't fight fair, she fought publicly. Every email CC'd half the board. Every accusation came gift-wrapped in humiliation. So I changed the battlefield. From emotion to documentation, from noise to law, I built a 2-track war plan. Track A, challenge every fine through internal appeal, force them to write, date, and sign every decision. No phone calls. No handshakes, paper only. Track B, find a weapon hidden in plain sight, something legal, unbreakable, undeniable. The deeper I dug, the uglier it got. Their enforcement letters used copy-paste threats from an HOA template site. Not even original language. They were running fear on autopilot, but fear only works on people who don't read fine print, so I read everything. County records, parcel boundaries. Meeting minutes from 2006 scanned at an angle. That's when I found it, the orphan parcel. A sliver of grass by the neighborhood entrance that everyone assumed the HOA owned. But it wasn't theirs. It had never been transferred from the developer, still city-held, available for public bid. I traced my finger across the plat map. That triangle sat right at the main entry, outside HOA jurisdiction, yet inside every driver's line of sight. I laughed, not the loud kind. The kind that comes from realizing the universe occasionally hands you poetic justice on municipal stationery. I filed a bid that afternoon. Cash, simple, legal. The clerk said nobody's ever asked for that parcel. Guess today's the first, I said. That night I drafted emails to 3 professionals, a structural engineer, a city sign code officer, and an attorney who specialized in First Amendment property displays. Each reply came fast. The engineer, we can anchor 100 feet if the soil holds. The attorney, on your land, content-neutral expression is protected, document everything, follow permit protocol. Don't gloat, win quietly. Quiet, that became the word I lived by. Marla kept sending fines, I kept stacking evidence. Every notice went into a labeled binder, every timestamp logged. The more she threatened, the calmer I got. Then one night I got the email that confirmed it. The city accepted my purchase. Deed transferring in 14 days. The orphan parcel was mine. I poured myself black coffee and sat by the window watching my flag ripple against the dark. It looks small now, not in pride but in potential. The next morning I called the engineer back. Let's build something they can't ignore, I said. He chuckled. How tall are we talking? Tall enough to make arrogance look up. And that's when this stopped being about revenge. It became about rewriting the balance between power and principle, one permit at a time. I filed blueprints under my own name, applied for the construction permit, attached every soil report, every calculation, every proof of compliance. When I handed the packet to the city clerk, she flipped through and smiled faintly. You did your homework, I nodded. Someone had to. Meanwhile, the HOA portal exploded. They called me defiant, dangerous. One post read, he's going to ruin property values. Maybe. Or maybe I was raising something more valuable than any property line: integrity. By the time Marla realized what I was building, it was already too late. The concrete trucks were scheduled, the crane reserved, war wasn't coming, it was already engineered, permitted, and approved. And every bolt, every beam, every stamped page carried the same quiet message. You don't scare the man who knows the rules better than you do. The trucks arrived before sunrise, diesel growl echoing off sleeping houses. Headlights cut through mist as the crew unloaded rebar and steel forms. The triangle of land looked smaller in person, bare dirt, a lonely city sign, but it felt like the heart of something massive. We marked the hole 12 feet deep, 4 wide. The crane's boom arced against a gray-pink sky. The air smelled like rain and engine oil. Marla showed up fast, she always did when the spotlight wasn't hers. Pink jacket, clipboard, phone out. This is illegal, she barked. The city inspector raised an eyebrow. Permits in order, ma'am, her jaw locked. He's in the HOA, the inspector pointed at the boundary stake. He's outside it. Silence. You could hear the concrete start to pour, thick, heavy, permanent. Neighbors wandered over in robes and coffee mugs pretending to walk dogs. Phones came up filming. Marla tried to rally them. He's destroying the community, someone muttered, or saving it. That hit her harder than my silence ever could. I stayed calm, hands in my pockets, watching the base sleeve fill to the brim. The crew chief grinned at me. Never seen a pole like this for a residence. It's not for a residence, I said. It's for respect. By noon, the foundation cured enough to set the mast. The crane lifted a gleaming 100-foot aluminum tube into the air. Sunlight bounced off it like a blade. Marla backed away, shielding her eyes. You'll regret this. I already regret paying HOA dues, I replied. The inspector signed the completion slip, legal, stamped, untouchable, but I wasn't done, not yet. While she ranted to the police, who arrived, checked paperwork, and promptly left, I unpacked a second permit folder. Decorative banners, content-neutral rotational system. Approved. That evening, I hoisted Old Glory first. It snapped in the wind with a sound that felt like thunder rolling through the cul-de-sac. Cars slowed, kids pointed, veterans saluted. Then came the banner, black and white portraits of the HOA board members pulled straight from their public newsletter. Bold caption underneath, OURELECTED representatives. No insults, no edits, just truth, 20 feet tall, framed by law. The crowd gasped. Marla's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. This is harassment. No, I said quietly, this is transparency. For the first time, she looked unsure. That night, the footage hit social media, the video of her shouting while the inspector confirmed my permit. The banner flapping above her head like poetic justice in real time. Views skyrocketed, comments poured in. The HOA called an emergency session. They wanted it gone by morning. But morning came and the flag was still there, gold light on polished metal, the banner swaying like a mirror for their own arrogance. I brewed coffee on my porch and watched cars stop to take photos. The war wasn't theoretical anymore. It had a shadow that touched every driveway. And for the first time, the bullies in pastel jackets realized what it feels like when someone fights back without breaking a single rule. Saturday, overcast. The air felt charged, like the sky itself knew something was about to break. I saw them gathering from my window, folding tables, clipboards, lawn chairs, the full HOA board assembling in front of the monument wall. They called it a special inspection. I called it a public execution attempt. By the time I walked out, every neighbor had their phone out. The 100-foot pole loomed behind me, silver cutting through clouds, Old Glory whipping like a storm flag. The banner with their portraits fluttered beneath it, faces frozen in perfect self-inflicted irony. Marla stood dead center, pink suit pressed, jaw locked. "You've embarrassed this community," she said into a portable mic. I stepped closer, binder under my arm, heartbeat steady. "You embarrassed yourselves," I said. The crowd murmured. She snapped, "You'll take this down now or face civil action." "Then file it," I replied. "Because every inch of that pole stands on land I own. Every image up there came from your public newsletter. Every permit stamped and sealed." Her voice rose. "You think hiding behind paperwork makes you right?" "No," I said. "It makes me lawful." She tried to move closer, but the police officer nearby raised a hand. "Keep distance, ma'am." And that's when the energy shifted. People started whispering, not against me, but for me. A veteran in a denim jacket stepped forward. "He's not breaking the law, he's defending it." That one sentence cracked the whole illusion. The HOA treasurer, voice shaking, tried to read a prepared statement about neighborhood decorum. No one listened. They were too busy watching Marla, red-faced, yelling over a flag that refused to come down. I let her finish her rant. Then I turned to the crowd, lifted my voice. "If you're tired of being fined for nonsense, tire marks, trash cans, fence colors, sign your name today. We're starting a recall. Article 8 allows it. Majority vote removes the board." Silence. Then a pen clicked, one then another. Neighbors lined up, signing clipboards while Marla shouted, "This is invalid." I looked her in the eye. "No, Marla, this is democracy." Her lips trembled. "You'll destroy everything." I nodded slowly. "Only what needed destroying." The wind caught the banner again, her own face staring down at her from 40 feet up. It was poetic, but I didn't smile. I just stood there, letting the sound of pens scratching paper drown out her voice. When the last signature hit the page, I closed the binder and walked away. No victory dance. No smirk, just quiet footsteps and a flag roaring overhead. The war wasn't over. But for the first time, it felt like justice had finally drawn its weapon. The clubhouse was packed. Folding chairs scraped tile. The air buzzed with whispers and fear. For years, people had been fined into silence. Tonight, they'd finally found their volume. I stood near the front, binder open, projector ready. "We're here to decide whether this board deserves to lead," I said. My voice didn't rise, it didn't need to. The documents did the heavy lifting. First slide, a screenshot of the HOA's own message board with Marla writing, "Make an example of him." Gasps rippled through the room. Second slide. A copy of fines issued to families for trivial things: garden hoses, mailbox paint, a kid's basketball hoop left out overnight. Each fine signed by Marla. She jumped up. "This is out of context." I hit play on a voicemail. Her voice filled the room. "We break him, they all fall in line." You could feel it, the shock shifting into fury. A retiree stood. "You fined me $200 for a flag on Memorial Day." Another neighbor added, "You called my daughter's chalk art graffiti." The crowd roared. The treasurer tried damage control. "We were following policy." "Policy?" I said, stepping forward. "Policy is the excuse of tyrants too afraid to face people they hurt." Marla's face turned pale. The mic trembled in her hand. "You think you're a hero?" "No," I said quietly, "just a man tired of paying for someone else's ego." Then the compliance captain, a woman who'd always sided with them, stood up. "That voicemail," she said, voice cracking. "That was to me. I can confirm it's real." The crowd erupted. I handed out recall ballots. One by one, people signed, marked, dropped them in a clear box. The sound of paper falling felt heavier than any gavel. When the votes were counted, the result was clear. Recall passed by a landslide. Marla didn't speak. She just gathered her papers and left. The room didn't cheer, it breathed, long and deep, like lungs learning air again. And for the first time, the HOA's power broke, not with shouting but with truth. It took a week for their lawyer to call. "We'd like to resolve this quietly," he said. We met in a beige conference room, blinds half drawn. Marla sat across from me, no mic, no crowd, no pink spotlight, just silence and law. I slid the paper across the table. "These are my terms. All fines refunded with interest. A public apology posted for 7 days. Revision of enforcement policy to require proof and vote. A veteran scholarship fund created with HOA surplus. Neutral oversight for future elections." Their lawyer cleared his throat. "That's extensive." "It's fair," I said. "After all, transparency's what this neighborhood's built on now." Marla didn't look up. "You're humiliating me." "No," I said. "You did that to yourself. I'm just writing the ending." Minutes passed, then the lawyer nodded. Accepted, no handshake, no victory grin, just a paper sliding back to my side signed, sealed, irreversible. Outside, the wind was light. The pole shimmered in sunlight. That evening, I took down the banner of faces. Not as surrender, but as closure. Neighbors came to help. We coiled the fabric quietly. One man said, "You could have crushed them." I didn't want to crush them, I said. I wanted to rebuild the rules. By nightfall, the flag flew alone again. No names, no faces, just the symbol we all claimed but forgot to live by. And for the first time in months, I slept easy. Part 12, Flag AT Dawn, Community AT Dusk, approximately 640 words, sunrise bled gold over the rooftops. I raised the flag slowly, hand steady on the halyard. The metal hummed in the wind, no banners today, just red, white, and blue. The HOA's apology went live that morning, posted publicly, signed by every board member. We overstepped our authority. We violated trust. The new board neighbors who'd signed the recall announced the scholarship fund's first recipient, a young veteran named Caleb training to be a welder. When he took the stage at the small ceremony on the triangle parcel, his voice shook. "You all think this started with a flagpole," he said, "but it started with someone deciding not to back down." People cried. I did too. Marla came quietly after everyone left. She looked older, softer. "I forgot what this was supposed to be about," she said. "It's about belonging," I replied. She nodded, eyes wet. "Then maybe we can start over," I offered my hand. "Start by never sending another threat letter," she laughed weakly. "Deal." The wind picked up again, pulling the flag taut against the sky. It didn't look like defiance anymore, it looked like peace earned through persistence. As I stood there watching the shadows stretch across the neighborhood, I realized something. Victory doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just breathes. If you've ever been bullied by power, by papers, by people who think they're untouchable, remember this. You don't fight chaos with noise. You fight it with precision, patience, and truth. Because law, when wielded by the righteous, cuts deeper than anger ever could. Now, before this story fades into another scroll, I want you to leave a comment. Tell me where you're watching from and what you'd stand up for if they pushed you too far. Your story matters next. And maybe, just maybe, it's the one that makes someone else finally raise their own flag.